Howdy, and welcome to the Bar SC Ranch, where you will experience our journey of running a family business, caring for animals, and doing life together. Subscribe now and be inspired here at the Bar SC.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be showing you all that we've been doing here on the ranch in terms of gardening. We've been growing some vegetables, some flowers. Hopefully we're going to move into other plants here soon. We have a sequoia tree. It's not like, okay, it's little. But really though, it's still a sequoia tree even if it's this big. But otherwise, keep watching and we're going to show you what kinds of plants we have and what we've been doing with them and caring for them and how many we've killed thus far. Which is not that high a number, don't judge us.
Hey Ashley.
Yes.
What did the mama tomato say to the baby tomato?
I don't know.
Why don't you just catch up?
Because that would kill the baby tomato.
No, it wouldn't.
It would.
Well, speaking of tomatoes, not ketchup.
No.
We have some tomato plants here.
Then maybe we'll have enough to make into ketchup. I don't want ketchup. I'd rather have tomatoes.
Okay, but if tomatoes are technically a fruit, does that make ketchup a smoothie?
Only if you'll drink it, not if you put it on your fries. But if you drink it, yes!
Well, that means that
Yes,
if I
it does.
eat fries with ketchup, then technically that's like a balanced meal, right?
Yeah, it's like In-N-Out when you get the fries and you dip it in your ice cream. That's what you're supposed to do with In-N-Out. This one didn't know that In-N-Out had shakes for like the longest time.
Hey, I'm from the East Coast, okay? We don't have In-N-Outs
You
there.
have to get your fries and dip them in your shake.
See, that's something that
That's
you
a
do at
thing.
Wendy's on the East Coast.
No, we don't do Wendy's
Okay, anyways,
here.
back to tomatoes.
Back to the tomatoes. Well, these guys, we've got 6 tomato plants. One of them was given to us by a very nice guest who does a lot of gardening. And so she gave us the whole thing. It was about this big, maybe a little smaller when we got it. And there's some strawberry plants down towards the bottom. It's a variety of pear tomato. I believe it's a yellow pear tomato. So the tomatoes, you could probably pull off one of the yellow ones and have a taste if you like tomatoes. If not, I'm going to eat it.
Does it taste like a pear?
Don't eat the top part of it. But no, it doesn't taste like a pear. It tastes like a tomato
Why is it called pear tomato?
because it looks like a pear. It's shaped like a pear. Take the top off.
It reminds me of VeggieTales.
It does kind of look like VeggieTales. Oh,
Bob.
you don't want to eat it?
Bob the tomato.
No,
I
it's
don't
not
like it
Bob
when
the
they're
tomato.
hot from the sun.
These are the Bob the tomatoes. These guys are beefsteak tomatoes. 4 of these plants are, which are these really, really big. None of them are red or even yellow yet. Right now they're still green. They're still growing. But these guys, I actually fit all in the passenger seat of my car on the way up here, not like 2 months ago.
They're very
Like
large.
they were like this big. And they
They've
kept
grown.
blowing over in the wind. And now they've all just like whoosh. Yes.
Why are they in Home Depot buckets? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they were like this big. And we were trying to decide if we were going to kill them or not. Or if we'd be successful here at the ranch. And so we looked into buying pots, like actual pots, and thought, well, that takes a trip into town. We were going to be going to town soon. And I wanted to plant them so they were in really tiny little containers. They kept blowing over in the wind. Just a little obnoxious. And so we went across the road to our little area where we store a bunch of different things, and we found Home Depot buckets. And, you know, thus they are in the Home Depot buckets. Maybe at some point they will be moved out of the Home Depot buckets. But otherwise they work really well. They don't fall over. They've got something, you know, to stand on. It's not a lot of room for the tomatoes, so like these plants are never going to get absolutely ginormous because they are limited by the size of the container. But all in all, it works pretty well.
I mean, I have no complaints. I think they're great. The Home Depot orange really like lends some flair, I think.
It does. The contrast works nice between the green and the orange. It is a little like janky looking, I guess, so maybe at some point we'll get prettier pots. Maybe next year when we plant tomatoes.
But kind of the important part for why it's in the pot though is because our soil
Yeah,
sucks.
you can plant stuff in the ground here, but it isn't going to grow, so don't do that.
Yeah, California is cool for a lot of different things. However, out here in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and all of our dirt is really, really packed down. And so if you were to try and plant something, we'd have to dig it all up, turn it all up, fertilize it in there, probably add some kind of potting soil or other sort of compost, and then keep doing that regularly. But we'd have to dig first like a really big hole.
Nobody
which
got
would
time for
just
that.
be pointless. So instead, we're doing a container garden. And we'll show you the next step in our container garden soon. I don't know if we're going to do it, you know, this year we're a little late in the growing season even with all of these, so we probably won't plant just like hundreds of plants. We're a little late for that. But we're looking into starting like a greenhouse, and then over the winter and into the early spring when we're still getting frost, we could start some plants in the greenhouse, get a whole bunch of things going, and then move them to these big like trough sort of things that we're going to be using as planters. So we'll show you those, and we think we're going to be able to plant a whole bunch of stuff. If you guys know anything about Michelle, you know she eats a lot of lettuce. So we're thinking
Slash
like 2
vegetables
troughs
in
full of lettuce.
Just lettuce.
Just lettuce.
Maybe like some zucchini in the corner.
Nope, just lettuce. So much lettuce. But otherwise we're hoping that pretty soon we'll have a whole bunch of tomatoes. These kinds of tomatoes, the beefsteak, are going to be like the perfect kind for, you know, like if you're going to have a hamburger and you want like tomato slices on them. Those are going to be pretty good.
We're going to have so many.
Oh, there's so many. Because like
tomatoes.
each of these little flowers that you see up here are going to turn into a tomato. And these tomatoes are going to get about that big. So they're going to get quite large, which means the plant has to be able to support that weight, which is why we've been slowly pruning up the bottom and staking it in different ways in order to make sure that as those fruits grow, the plant doesn't just go meow.
Or tying it to a chair.
Yeah, this one's tied to a chair.
To keep it upright.
I didn't have enough of the metal stakes, so I put them in 3 of them, and then the 4th one is twist tied to the chair.
When you live 45 minutes away from town, you innovate when it comes to these things.
Grace is going to build me something cool, and we're going to like string tomatoes down from the top of it and hang them that way. It's going to be really cool. But
I
this
haven't
guy,
heard about that.
It's
idea.
happening, don't worry. So this guy is supposed to be when we bought him. So these guys came from Lowe's, which is funny because they're in Home Depot buckets now. A little bit of like a battle going on there. But I was on my way back up to the ranch, and I was at Lowe's with my mom, and I saw that they had tomato plants, and it was in like the dollar section. So they had this big rack of like $1 buy tomatoes, and it's because it's too late in the season. You're not really supposed to plant tomatoes like in June, especially at least not when they're this big. You're supposed to have big tomato plants already by June. So I think they were just trying to get rid of their tomato plants. So I got 5 of them of what I thought were all this variety, this beefsteak big tomato variety, and then this little guy just wouldn't grow. But he looked super happy and healthy, and so we're like, well, okay, like whatever.
It looks like he's making the pear kind.
Yeah, and he's making these like long, oblong shaped tomatoes. They're not quite pear tomatoes. They're much bigger than those, and they haven't even started changing colors yet. So we're unsure on that situation. We'll show you a close-up, and if you guys know what kind of tomato it is, let us know.
Perhaps they are the kinds that make green ketchup.
I mean, sure. Fried green tomatoes. But none of them are even like slightly yellow, and they're getting big. So I don't know.
So fun fact, I know nothing about plants. I kill everything. Ashley's like our resident expert. All about the plants. Hence why I think green ketchup.
I mean, I don't see why not. It probably wouldn't taste very good, but it'd be technically ketchup. So this is the next section of our garden. As you can see, it is simply a continuation around the corner of the first section. We're going to attempt to make it seem expansive. It's really just a corner of the house that we're planting things on. But it's going to become expansive.
Expansive is a state of mind.
That's true, but we have 660 acres, and about 0.00001% of those are planted.
Okay.
But they're really cool, and so we're hoping, like this pot right here is filled with a whole bunch of different watermelon plants. There's actually like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are directly on top of one another. That's probably going to be a problem. But
we did start with like 12.
Yes, we started with a lot. But this pot would really be best suited for like 1 watermelon plant. And so we planted a bunch to get them all going before we really had other places to put them. And then now we've been slowly transplanting them into other pots and getting them situated there. So like 1 pot per watermelon plant, and then we're going to put them around the ranch once they're established and don't need us to take care of them every single gosh darn day. And that way we can put them around some of our houses and be really cool for people to have like a little watermelon plant growing in the front. We'll see how that goes though, because I mean, are people going to like water them? No, we're going to water them, so we don't want to put them too far away because we are bucket watering this system here. But otherwise,
because it never rains out here. It's so sad.
No, it does not. And when it does rain, it rains too much. So there's really like no situation that is perfect.
That's why gardening is difficult out here.
It is a little difficult, but it's worth it because look at all of the greenery.
We are persevering.
But otherwise, underneath our watermelon, we have little basil, which also is probably not going to be able to stay there because the watermelon's just going to grow like way over the top of it. But you know, it's super happy down there because it's in a little bit of the shade from the watermelon plant, and out here, even things that call for full sun, like our tomatoes back there, are actually getting shade in the afternoon. Because when they say full sun, they didn't mean full sun in California in the middle of a desert. What they meant was like, oh yes, some nice sun all day. So we actually protect our plants from the afternoon sun when it gets the hottest and really just scorches. But they get morning sun up until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they get a little bit of shade. And we found that that's working really well for those plants that ask for full sun. If plants here ask for partial shade, we give them like almost entirely shade, and that works best because the sun out here really does just scorch the plants pretty effectively. The other plant that we have back here, this is a little lavender plant, and if you guys know much about lavender, lavender does really well in the full sun, even out here, and it's actually very drought tolerant, which is a little harder to do when it's in a pot. They're not going to be as drought tolerant because they don't have like an expansive root system, you know, in the ground. Once they get established, they're stuck in a pot. But still, this is a plant that once we get it going this year, next year, let's water it once a week. We don't need to water it every day.
Those are my favorite kinds of plants.
I know!
The easy ones.
So we're gonna get a bunch of lavender plants going and then put them cool places, because then we could just water them like once a week.
And they bring hummingbirds.
They do, apparently. We had a hummingbird over here. We normally don't get any hummingbirds anywhere because why would they be here? There are no flowers. And now there are!
Yay!
We have flowers! Speaking of flowers, Grace planted flowers that we're still like unsure what is actually growing in here.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what it is. I forget what I planted.
But it's supposed to be some kind of flower.
There's a pineapple.
But then it's not planted though. But then like they have little things on them that look like they're supposed to be grabbing things, like little vines. They look like little sweet pea vines. But we don't have sweet pea seeds.
Well, there's definitely a possibility that I accidentally planted sweet peas.
No, because we don't have sweet pea seeds. Not when you planted these.
Well, we'll keep you guys updated. Maybe they'll bloom and we'll see what they are.
I have no idea what these are. But they've been this size for a little while. They haven't really grown up past this size very quickly, but they got to this size very quickly. And they're still green and happy, and we're watering them often, so they don't seem unhappy. They're just kind of slowing down. I think personally it's the decaying pineapple in the corner, perhaps.
It's really funny. It looks like it's growing out of the ground.
I mean, it kind of does.
Not when it falls over like that, though.
Well, it is actually decaying at this point.
Hey, Ashley, why do we keep a grate over it?
Oh, well, the grate makes it easier for me to water them, one, because then I can just spray water over the top of them. And also, it's keeping the cats out of the bin, so these guys are a little bigger over here, so the cats don't tend to bother them. But when we have really little plants like that, the cats actually like to lay down in the cool dirt around the plants, and they don't actually care if they lay on top of the plants. They just lay directly on top of the plants.
It's so rude.
So, we put the grate there, and I think it's actually supposed to be a grate for like a barbecue of some sort, or something odd. It's like a little lid.
I think it's a fireplace grate.
Is it a fireplace grate?
Something like that.
Okay, well it's a thing, and we put it on it, and some sunlight gets through, but mostly it kind of makes it like partial shade and keeps the cats off. So
multi-purpose.
It works. All right, guys. So this is the next area we wanted to show you. This is the big pile of bags and giant metal containers. No. Yes. But otherwise, we had Tim dig them out with a backhoe because they were actually filled with like ash and a whole bunch of other junk because we hadn't been using them for anything. They were just sort of here as like storage containers, and as you can see, they're absolutely massive and super deep, so they'd be really perfect to build a little bed and actually have like a bed of soil in here, and then we can plant the tomatoes in here. We could plant some lettuce in here. We have 3 more of these actually that hopefully we can start with next year. We'll actually have like 5 of them out here to plant in. We got a big piece of garden trellis, so like a big white trellis that we're going to put on this side to kind of mimic what we have going on by the house where they're still getting that afternoon shade. So we're going to put it up on this western side of our troughs, and that way they have a little bit of shade in the afternoon.
Ooh, look at that directional knowledge.
I know where I am in the world. My mother does not. But I do, thanks Dad. Otherwise, it just has to do with where the sun is rising as well, is because we want them to have afternoon shade since it does get so gosh darn hot and the sunlight is so intense. We don't want to scorch not so much the plants themselves, but the tomatoes that are growing on the plants will start to crack and they'll lose color and they won't be quite as pretty looking, even if they're still edible if they've been sitting out in the sun a whole bunch.
This would be a great place to hide for hide and seek.
It would be.
I could just lie down. Yeah, you guys never find me.
You could put a trellis on top of you.
Feels.
I think you get a little hot. They're actually like quite warm because they're all metal. But we're gonna fill them with dirt.
Nuggets.
And some nuggets
of mulch.
and some
Only
dirt.
the best for our tomato
Oh
plants.
yes. Small nuggets, not the large nuggets. Yes. But we're gonna fill them up with dirt, and then we actually got like a drip irrigation system, so we're gonna
fancy.
be running. I know.
We're
We're trying
so
to make life
fancy.
easy on ourselves, actually, because it takes me quite a while to water everything every day. But otherwise, we're gonna make our lives easier, especially if we're planting more. But we're gonna set up a little drip irrigation hose over here that we can just turn on, set a little timer, and then come back and turn it off. Or maybe we can even get a timer at some point, and it'll just go off on its own, and we won't have to worry about it, which is cool.
My timer's name is Kylie.
Yes,
Borland.
especially if we leave the ranch. Kylie is in charge of the plants.
She's our timer.
Yes, Kylie does very well with the plants. That's something that she enjoys doing as well.
Yeah.
But it's been fun to take these next steps and be growing stuff out here. I know we tried this like a year or two ago and failed miserably because we didn't quite put it together the right way. But I mean, you know, we tried.
This is one of the really cool things that we love about being on a ranch, and you know, we really try to eat well, to live well, to work out well, and growing our own vegetables and having our own garden is one of the things that Tim and Michelle are really pumped about. We do eat a lot of vegetables.
We do. It's
So
one of the number one reasons we go into town.
actually, yeah.
Is because we can stock up on some things and freeze them, but you can't freeze like lettuce.
Or
I mean, maybe you
zucchini.
can, but we don't. So if we had some here that we could just pick and use, then
So we're really excited about this. It's kind of a new venture. We've valued kind of nutrition and wellness for a while, but this is a really cool next step that we're taking, that we're going to take you guys along with us and see what exactly happens. If you don't hear from us again, it was probably a huge fail. But if you see another video about our
there's gonna
garden,
be another video, even if it was a fail, and we'll ask you guys why we failed miserably.
yes, you guys
But
can
if
give us
you-
gardening tips.
Yeah, if you have tips, we'd be really happy to hear them. Grace keeps saying that I know what I'm doing, and I have an idea what I'm doing, but I am by no means an expert.
Yes, we're
So
definitely
we'd be more
not
than
experts.
happy to
But-
take any advice you guys have about our little
Yeah.
gardening venture here, other than we know that we're a little late this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's California, so it's not like it's going to frost immediately, but it does actually freeze over here at the ranch. So we will at some point run out of room or run out of time going into the winter. But we're going to get a greenhouse!
Woo! We're gonna build a greenhouse actually.
Woo woo!
You guys should check out a
definitely make
video
a video
about
about
that. We'll put it up at some point. Gonna be super exciting. But thanks so much for watching us, and as we go through all of our different plants in our buckets here at the ranch.
I like my buckets. Don't judge my buckets.
No judgment to Ashley's buckets. Judgment to Ashley's buckets.
It worked, didn't it? My tomato plants.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll keep you updated on the state of our vegetables. We'll give a state of the vegetables talk.
Yes, we will. She won't be standing in there anymore, though, because there will be plants in it.
Well, maybe I will. I'll just stand on top.
Nope.
Well,
I will bite you.
I don't want to fight her. Anyways, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye!
If you enjoy this video, we'd love to hear from you. Like and subscribe and leave a comment about what you might like to see in future videos. We'll see ya back on the ranch.